All right, so before we move on, let's talk a little bit about something called constructor functions. We're going to go deeper into this topic and into the topic of classes later on, but I just want to introduce this to you here while we're talking about objects. So the first thing is we've already seen these constructor functions, we just didn't know it. Let's start off with something that we already know. I'm going to go const and I'm going to go date, and I'm going to set this equal to, I'm going to use the keyword new followed by date with a capital D. Okay, it's got to be a capital D and some parentheses. So what do you notice here? Remember, if you have parentheses, this implies that you have a function call, right? So I'm calling a function. What is it exactly doing? Well, basically the way this works is this is built into JavaScript, and essentially it allows us to create a new instance of what's called the date object, okay? So you have methods that are available to you on this. If I go ahead and console.log this date guy here, it's going to hold this new instance of the date object, and it's really just going to give me a really weird looking date. So let's go ahead and open up the terminal and run this guy, and you just get a weird looking date. Now, you have methods that are available on this. I can either put it up here or I can do it down here. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to go dot, and you see some of them are going to pop up. You can scroll through them if you want. I'm just going to go with get full year because we've used that already. Basically, this is going to give me 2021 because that is the current year, okay? But you can do other things like get hours. Let's go ahead and see that one. And this is going to be in military time. So for me right now, it's 9:55 p.m. Okay. It just takes the hour part. So it takes 9. It's going to add 12 to it because it's military time. So you're just going to get 21. Okay. So clear this and run this. You get 21. Okay. So remember you have the keyword new here. It's going to be important for later. And remember this is capitalized. Okay. So let's wipe this out and let's talk about making our own constructor functions. There's some that are built into JavaScript, but we can make our own. So basically up to this point, if we wanted to make an object, we had to kind of type everything out. So, right? So if I did something like const, let's say we wanted to look at a student, right? We're in a school and let's say we're building an application for them. Well, I can have some properties here. Let's say I had a first name and let's say this was Mary. Let's say there was a last name and let's say this was Adams. And then let's say something like the class level. And I should do this like this. So class level. Let's say she's a junior, okay? Junior, if I could spell that. And then let's do the current average. So how's she doing? Let's say she's doing excellent, so she has an A. Okay, so that's fine, but what if we had like thousands and thousands of students? Well, we wouldn't want to sit there and type this out each time, the first name, the last name. If all the students are going to have these same properties, we can let JavaScript do the heavy lifting for us and basically create all this stuff for us with us just passing in these values. Like I would pass in Mary, Adams, Junior, and A, and it would basically create the object for me. Okay, so the way we can do that, or one way we can do that, we have newer ways now, but one way we can do this is with a constructor function. Okay, so I'm going to type function, and I'm just going to type student, and this is going to be with a capital S. So remember when we had date, we have a capital D. With student, we're going to have a capital S. That lets everybody know that this is a constructor function. Okay, so this is a convention. It doesn't break if you use a lowercase s, but it's just not the convention. Okay, so you want to always follow that. I'm going to put some parentheses here. And basically what I want to do is, let's just leave this as it is for right now. I want to show you some stuff. So let's go ahead and take this and let me comment it out. So control and then / to comment that out. I'm just going to console.log this student guy and I'm going to call it. So what happens right now, remember, if a function doesn't return something, you get undefined, right? So it's going to give you undefined. So let's open this up, clear this, and let's run this, and you get undefined. But let's say I put a new keyword here, okay? What would happen then? Well, what's going to happen is it's going to change the behavior, and we're going to get deeper into this later on, but instead of getting undefined, now you're going to get this name here, okay, which is student, followed by an empty object. So let's go ahead and clear this, and let's run this. So you see you get student followed by this empty object. So it's clear now that this new keyword is changing the behavior, okay, of how this function operates. So basically what the new keyword does is it's going to generate an empty object, okay, for the new instance of, in this case, it's going to be student. And then it's going to give us access to this empty object in the constructor function via the this keyword, okay? So because we don't know the name of this guy yet, because we haven't stored it anywhere, we've got to have a way to kind of reference things when we're setting up these properties so we can use the this keyword to do that. So in other words, let's say I'm going to pass some things in here. So let's say I do something like the first name, I'll just call it first. The last name, I'll call it last. The class level, I'll just call it level like this. And then the current average, let's just say average like this. Okay. So I'm going to use the this keyword. Again, this is pointing to the empty object that this guy's creating. So this dot, let's say first name, is equal to let's go first. Okay, so let's pause for a minute, and I'm just going to come down here. Let's get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. And basically, I just want to show you what happens if we call the function. So I'm going to go something like, let's say const, and I misspelled that, so const student1 is equal to, I'm going to use the new keyword, okay, followed by student with a capital S, and I'm calling this function, okay? But I want to pass something in. I'm just going to pass in the first guy. Don't worry about these other guys. We'll get to that in a second. So I'm just going to start by passing in Mary, okay? So basically, if I console.log this student1 guy, so let's go ahead and do that. So console.log this student1 guy, I'm going to see that the first name property, okay, basically the value of that is going to be Mary. So if I pop this open and clear this and run this, you see that you set this object up, the first name is here and the value here is Mary, okay? So that's all that this keyword does, is it allows you to kind of set things up when you have this empty object, okay? So then when we come here, we have student1 that's going to be set equal to that empty object. So then now I can reference it with student1. I could have also gone student1.firstName, okay? That's going to give me Mary as well. So let's clear this and run this, and you just get Mary, okay? So let's go ahead and get rid of this for right now, and let's come up here and let's put some more stuff in here. So I'm going to go ahead and go this dot last name is equal to last, okay? So it's taking the value here that you passed in, and then I'm going to go this dot LVL for level is equal to, actually I want to not do that. I want to do this dot class level, because this is the property name you're going to end up with. It's going to be class level, is equal to LVL, which is what I passed in. And then this dot, I want to do current average is equal to, I'm going to go average like this. Okay, so this is the basics of this. So let me come down here and just put a comma. I'm going to pass in Adams. I'm going to put a comma. I'm going to pass in Junior. I'm going to put a comma. I'm going to pass in A. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. We can just get rid of it. So you can see that this is going to basically create that object for you. Again, JavaScript's going to do all the heavy lifting, so you can keep going through here and going, okay, now I have student 2, student 3. Instead of typing all the stuff each time, JavaScript is going to do that for you. It's going to create a property name of first name, and it's going to set the value equal to whatever you passed in for that, okay? So let's go ahead and console.log this student1 guy, okay? And you're going to see that you have all these values set up for you. So let's go ahead and clear this and run this. So see, you have your new instance of this student guy. So the first name, the value is Mary, the last name, the value is Adams, and then the class level is going to be Junior, and the current average is A. Okay, so now that we understand the basics, let's just play around with this a little bit. Or actually, before we do this, you'll notice that you have this kind of highlighting here. The reason that Visual Studio Code is doing this, if you click on this, you get a little light bulb, and it says convert function to an ES 2015 class. We have not talked about classes yet, and I'm not going to get to them just yet. This is the newer way to do this. If you click on this and convert it, it's going to change it up slightly. Okay, so you have this class keyword now, and now you have this constructor keyword. So we're going to cover this later on. If you pop this open and clear this and run this, it works the same for you for right now. Okay, so don't worry about this too much. We'll get to this later on. I'm just going to stick to this older method for right now. So I'm going to come down here and create a few more students. So I'm going to go const student2, let's go new, and then student, and then I'm going to pass in, let's go ahead and say something like maybe Beth for the first name. Let's go something like Davis for the last name. Let's say she's a freshman. Did I spell it correctly? Freshman. And then let's say she's got a B right now. Okay, so she's doing all right. Let's go const student3, the new keyword, and then I'm going to go student, and then let's say it's Clyde, and then let's say it's Jacobs for the last name. Let's say maybe he's about to get out of there, so he's a senior. Let's say he's just getting by, so he's got a C. Okay, so you can console.log all of these. You know what the result would be, so let me just copy this a few times. We'll go ahead and do 2, and then we'll go ahead and do 3. Again, it's just doing all the heavy lifting for you. It's going to come in here and basically give you an object where, in this particular case for student 2, the first name property, the value is going to be Beth. Then the last name is going to be Davis. Then the class level is going to be freshman, and then the current average is going to be B. So let's pop this open, clear this, and let's run this. And you get all of these guys. If you come back up here, you have your original one that you looked at. Then you have the Beth Davis, who's a freshman, has got a B. You got the Clyde Jacobs, who's a senior and has a C. Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about the fact that even though I've created all of these objects here from this constructor function, it still behaves as a normal object. I can overwrite things, I can add things. So let's say, for example, I come in here and I go student3 dot first name. It was Clyde, but let's say I set it to, I don't know, let's say I go maybe Jacob or something like that. Or it would be Jacobs. That's fine. We're just seeing what's going on. So let's pop this open and clear this and run this. And you see you get Jacobs. Okay, so I can update something, or I could also put a new property in. I could do something like the eye color. Okay, and then let's say we're going to set this to, I don't know, maybe brown. So brown, pop this open and clear this and run this. And now you see that this guy right here, which is the student 3, the eye color set to brown. But if I go to student 2 or student 1, those guys don't have eye color involved. Okay, so let's get rid of this. And I want to talk a little bit about methods. And basically we saw that we can come into an object and we could put a function in there, okay, and that's called a method. So what I can do, maybe set up something like this dot get full name, okay? And all this is going to do is be a function. And this function is going to return, I'm going to use some backticks here, and I'm just going to say this dot first name. Okay, and then again, I'm going to do this dot last name. Okay, so if I come down here, all of these guys, because they were all created from this, you have access to this. And I'll show you a different way to do this coming up. But for right now, we're just going to put it into the constructor function itself. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. I'm going to call all of these guys. I'm going to go get or dot get full name. Okay, with parentheses because we're calling a function. Doesn't take in any arguments, so we can go ahead and pop this open, clear this, and run this. And I made a mistake somewhere, so let's see where that is. And the mistake is up here. So I put parentheses here, and that shouldn't be there. So this dot get full name is what you want. Without parentheses, you're not calling it there. So let's go ahead and pop this back open, clear this, and run this. And so you get Mary Adams, Beth Davis, and Clyde Jacobs. Okay, so that's all fine and dandy. Let's say we put another method in there, one that would allow us to get the current grade of a student. We're going to change this up. For right now, we've hard-coded things in, like we've given them a B, an A, or a C. But let's say instead of the average here, we took in an array of scores, okay? So I would change this dot current average. I'm just going to put this dot, let's say scores is equal to scores. Okay, so this is going to be an array. And let's make a little method down here. Basically, we're going to go this dot, let's say something like getMyGrade is equal to, let's do a function. And let's go ahead and come over here. And we remember how to find the sum, okay, of all the stuff in an array. We're going to have an array method for this. We just haven't gotten to it yet. So basically, you're going to start with kind of like a counter variable. So something like, let's say, let my sum. And every time through, when you loop through this guy, you're going to basically take the current value and add it onto the sum, okay? So I'm going to do something like let my sum be equal to 0. And then I'm going to set up a for loop. So for, we're going to go let I equal 0. I is less than, remember the array you're working with, in this case, is going to be this dot scores. Okay, so that's going to be an array. So this dot scores, okay? And then every array has a length property, so I'm going to go dot length, okay? And then I'm going to go I plus plus. So basically, I want to take, when I'm iterating through this guy, I want to take this guy right here, which is the array. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'm just going to put I inside of the square brackets. So that's going to give me the current element. So I want to take this my sum, which is right now 0. The first way through would be this dot scores with the first position. Okay, so that value I want to add on to it. Okay, so I want to just basically say my sum plus equals this guy. Okay, so once I've gone through the whole loop, then I basically have the sum of all the scores. Now that doesn't give me the average. I need to divide by the number of scores. So let's just for right now return. I'm just going to go my sum divided by, I'm going to do this dot scores dot length, okay? And usually when you use something in multiple locations, people like to use a variable for that. I'm just going to keep this as it is, just a little bit easier to type. Another thing is you might be confused about why I didn't do something like this. If you let my sum like this, right now it's undefined. When you try to do math with something that's undefined, remember you get not a number, okay? So to stop that from happening, I'm starting it with 0, so I'm doing math with a number. Okay, so right now let's come down here and let's get rid of this right here and go ahead and change it. I'm going to do something like, I already forgot the name of the method, so let's come up here, getMyGrade. So getMyGrade, And let's go ahead and put in some arrays here. So let's change this from a static value of just A to, let's say, we're going to go 95, 99, 100, and 80. Okay. And then for this person, let's go ahead and change this up. So I'm going to go maybe with 50. Maybe they didn't do so well in the first score. So 90, then 80, then 85. And it doesn't have to be the same length. Like these are all 4. I can do something with 5. So let's do one with 5. Let's do maybe like 100. Let's do 99. Let's do 90. Let's do 81. And then maybe let's do 80. Or actually, let's do 70. Okay. So let's go ahead and pop open the terminal, clear this, and let's run this. So we get 93.5, 76.25, and 88. So let's just note that real quick. So this was, let me pop that back open, 93.5, 93.5. This one was 76.25. So 76.25, and this one was 88. Okay, so let's use that information. Well, we're not going to use that hard-coded information, but basically, let's say you wanted to take this a little bit further, and you wanted to use this method with this method to return a little string to them. So let's change this from a return to a variable. I'm just going to say const, we'll say my average is equal to this, okay? And then I can use this. I can just set up some if statements. I'll say if, I'll say something like my average is greater than or equal to, let's say 90. That means they got an A. So I'm going to return, I'll put a little string in here. And basically I would want to get their full name. So let's go ahead and say something like, and I can do this up here actually. So const my string is equal to, I'm going to set up some backticks and I'll go get or this dot get full name. Okay. So that's going to give me their full name. I'll say currently has a grade or a letter grade of, okay? And that's where you're going to put in your A down there, okay? So all I need to do here for each case is reference this my string. So I'm going to go $ curly braces, my string, and then followed by the letter grade. So in this case is A. Now I put an extra space here so I don't need a space there, or you can put the space here and close this down, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter. So then I'm going to go else if, let's say my average is greater than or equal to, let's say 80. Let's go ahead and return. I'm going to go my string, okay, with now a B. And you already know how this is going to go, right? So let's go ahead and say something like else if my average is greater than or equal to, let's go 70. That'll give me a C. So let's come down a little bit more. We'll go return. Again, I'm going to do this my string, okay, and then C. And then 2 more. I'm going to go else if my average is greater than or equal to, let's say 60. I'm going to return, let's say this my string with a D and 1 more. I just need else. So basically if you got below a 60, then you got an F. So I'm going to return this my string with an F. Okay, and I know this took a little while to kind of write, but it's important to do some of these to get some practice. So let's go through here. I forgot my period, so let's put a period or an exclamation point or whatever you want to put, it doesn't matter. And let's come down here and we call it now. So this person's going to get an A. This person is going to get a C. So this person will have a C, and then this person will have a B, okay? So let's go ahead and put a B for them. So I'll get Mary Adams. Let me see if I can read this again. So Mary Adams currently has a letter grade of A. This one will say Beth Davis currently has a letter grade of C. And this one will say Clyde Jacobs currently has a letter grade of B. So let's pop this open and clear this. And let's run this. And we get as expected, right? Mary Adams currently has a letter grade of A. Beth Davis currently has a letter grade of C. And Clyde Jacobs currently has a letter grade of B. Now, let's wipe this. And let me do one more example just to solidify the concept really quickly. Let's say we have a used car dealership and we have all these cars coming in. So I'm going to create one more of these guys. So I'm going to go function car. I'm going to go make. I'm going to go model. I'm going to go color. And I'm going to go price. And I'm just going to go this dot make is equal to make. I'm going to go this dot model is equal to model. I'm going to go this dot color is equal to color. And I'm going to go this dot price is equal to price. And let me put my semicolons in because I forgot in each case. So let's go and go here, 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 and here. And then let's come down here. And let's make one little method. So I'm going to go this dot description is equal to, this will be a function. And basically I'm just going to return a little string. the, and I'll say, misspelled that. So I'll say this dot color, and I'll say this dot make, and I'll say this dot model. And then let's go something like costs, and then $2 because I want an actual dollar sign. We'll go this dot price. Okay. So nice and easy, nice and quick. Let's come down here and make maybe 2 of these guys. I'm going to go const car1. Let's set this to new, and then car. Again, I've capitalized car. So it's a new instance of this guy. And basically I'm going to be passing in Honda for the make. And then let's go with Civic for the model. Let's go with maybe white for the color. And let's go with $20,000. And I'll show you how to add commas into things later on. We just haven't gotten that far yet. Okay, so let's come down here and copy this. Let's maybe do a car 2. Let's say this is a Ford Mustang maybe. So a Ford. And let's go with a Mustang, okay? And let's say this one is blue. And of course, this costs way more money. So let's say this is $50,000. Okay, maybe you have like a Cobra or something. I don't even know if they still make those, but let's assume they do. So let's go car 1 here, and I'm going to go dot description. So I'm going to call that function. And then let's go ahead and copy this and go for car 2, okay? So we should see in this case, white Honda Civic cost $20,000, okay? And the other one would basically say the blue Ford Mustang costs $50,000. So let's pop this open and clear this, and let's run this, and we get exactly as expected. The white Honda Civic cost $20,000, and then the blue Ford Mustang cost $50,000.